The trickiest part about this build is of course the head. It's easier to build detail when building big, but I need to keep the head small because ogres have small heads, but also the bigger the head, the bigger the build. And as cool as it would be to have a giant ogre, I just don't have enough pieces and that's not going to work with my other builds. So I'm starting with beady little eyes using these Lego claws inserted into these open stud points versus using studs. If I use studs, he would just have really big owl eyes and his head would have to get really big. So I kept it small for that purpose. It was really tricky to figure out how to fit all the pieces for the ogre's face on such a small space. And it took a lot of trial and error. He went through a lot of transformations, a little bit of Lego plastic surgery, but finally got it to look what I wanted it to look like, and it was holding together really well. So just added a little bit more components to it to add like a sloping forehead, have his jaw coming out, you know, that very characteristic trait of an ogre. I feel like this looks pretty good. He's not completely botched. Building the upper body of an ogre is important. It needs to be big, it needs to be bulky, it needs to be stocky, kind of like an old-fashioned bodybuilder. At least that's what I was thinking when I was building this. So we've got this massive chest. When building out creatures, I have to think about every angle. Oftentimes I just think about what it's going to look like in the front, but you have to be thinking about the sides and you have to be thinking about the back. Don't let your creatures skip their back day. I'm adding this massive back and it adds anatomical shape and it also adds support. So we've got this massive back, kind of like a bodybuilder's back, because he's holding a lot of weight up front with his big chest and his big belly. We need to show that. I also added an S shape to the back to give a spinal curvature to make it feel more anatomically accurate. And then of course I added a giant belly because that's trademark of an ogre. So obviously he's got to look like he's eating good. And of course a little belly button. For the arms, I always do 3 sections. You've got the shoulder tricep section, you've got the forearm with this big curve on it. I've got to make them massive. That's the good thing about this ogre, is I can make them very, very big and chunky and it looks good. And we've got this little hand, of course, with his little fingers. What's super important about arms as well is movement. So I've got elbow movement at the forearm, and then I've also got movement in the hand. I can go up and down and it can turn left and right. And of course I got movement at the shoulder, which is super important. Building the legs for the ogre was super fun. I was focused on just building big, thick trunks to support the ogre's upper body, his big belly and his big appetite. But I built chunky thighs and chunky quads. I just wanted to make it just really big and make it stand out and support his big body. Now, from his knee point, I added a boot, so it looks like his knees and legs were armored. I gotta put the knee pad back on because his blacksmith is obviously sucks. Anyways, we got a little bend to it so we can add form to his leg. We don't want him to just be standing straight. That wouldn't look natural. Then we'll add his foot with his overgrown, dirty toenails. Obviously, there's no ogre pedicure services. Lastly, we have the torso, which is a crucial part of the build. One, it adds color and contrast with the loincloth. Then also up on the top, we have the skull, where his belt is, to add a little bit more personality to the build. Also, the torso is important because it's what's supporting the upper body and it's the core connection point for the legs. So it has to be strong and it has to be shaped well so that there's a good transition between the legs and the upper body. Here's a minifigure reference. We put this little guy next to this big guy, kind of how I felt at the gym. Big size difference. Tiny, huge. Tiny, huge. Oh, anyways. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. Not more minifigure violence. That's not what this channel is about. No, that needs to stop. More content. Thanks again.